Hey guys, the Explorer 4 here, Horrorboy465, aka Nate Murphy. Welcome back to some more reviews. And after years of not doing a top 10 video, I figured that since technically we're still in March, we got like one day, this is like the last day of March. I figured I would do at least a video to kind of close the month because it is the month of my 5-year anniversary. I had a couple ideas that I didn't get to, unfortunately. I may do them next year during March. Just some ideas I could not fit in my schedule, whether it was in between the reviews or just having time to do them in general. So I'll probably end up saving those for next year when it hits the 6-year anniversary. But I want to do this because, it kind of just popped in my head one day because I was thinking, I was like, I still haven't seen 30 Days of Night. I still haven't seen Raw. Those are the next two movies that I'm going to see. So I was thinking, I'm like, what am I going to do? I was thinking yesterday, I was like, what am I going to do tomorrow? And I was trying to think of something that I could do just off the top of my head, just talk about. I didn't really want to do a vlog, but I was looking over the channel and seeing if I wanted to do anything to kind of continue anything. Um, and I came across a couple things. I want to get back doing some more Skyrim Let's Plays, and I came across my old top 10 list, the playlist that I had created a long time ago. And I realized that I had not made a top 10 list in at least a year or two. So I was like, man, why not do another top 10 list? I mean, there's so many top 10 list ideas that I could do. And the one obvious one that I didn't do is my top 10 favorite horror films of all time. Now, it was very, very difficult to create this list. There was a lot of times where I had 10 movies stacked and ready to get onto the video. And I went, no, that one's a little bit better. I like this one a little bit more. So this list got edited a lot. So it was very hard to get all these movies together because there's a lot of horror films that I absolutely love. But I tried my best to narrow it down to these movies. Again, this is my opinion. My opinion may vary from your guys' opinion. There's a lot of horror films out there that I may have missed to put on this list. But these are kind of just the top 10 that I can narrow it down to. These are my top 10 favorite horror films of all time. Some of them are kind of obvious. Other ones, probably not so much. But nevertheless, this is my top 10 favorite horror films of all time. I'm going to fix my camera real quick. Okay, there we go. But yeah, these are just top 10 favorite horror films of all time. I'll kind of just explain my reasoning for liking these movies so much as I go along. And you guys know my top 10s. I just have 10 movies on this list. It's not any kind of ranking system. It's just kind of what I have. So none of these are viewed as better than the others. It's just these are my top 10 favorite movies. And I'm just going to put them on the list. There's no ranking for the list. It's just my top 10 favorite. And let's get started, guys. So number 10 would be The Exorcist. Now, this is a film that I have to give a watch again because I haven't seen it in a while. I watched it, I don't know, maybe a year ago. I haven't seen it in about a year, but The Exorcist is a fantastic film. It is a film that, growing up, I had always heard about, never really seen until I found this DVD copy. I think this DVD was the first time I watched this movie all the way through. And when I first seen this movie, I didn't see it when I was a kid. I just seen like clips of it and stuff like that. But when I first seen this movie, it really shocked me because, I heard about this movie. I seen a couple of the scenes, but I really didn't know a whole lot about the film. I just seen a couple scenes. I knew the title. I knew the story was about someone getting possessed. So when I first seen it, it was really a good first time experience with The Exorcist. And I did not know that it had sequels until I found out later that there was at least, and there's 2, there's 3, there's part 4, and there's a part 4 alternate part 4. So like there's technically speaking there's 5 movies, but Part 4 kind of has two alternate versions, which I have both of them. I still haven't seen Dominion yet, though, so that's why I haven't reviewed that yet. Just haven't really been wanting to watch it yet. But The Exorcist it has everything a horror fan could love. I mean, it's shocking, it's disturbing. It also has beautiful cinematography, a great, fantastic score, great acting. I mean, you got Jason Miller, you got Max von Sydow, I couldn't say his name, Ellen Burstyn, directed by William Friedkin. Of course, has Linda Blair as Regan. William Friedkin directed it, did a fantastic job with the directing, and the movie just looks great. It has a great soundtrack. It has some really great acting in it, and it has some iconic horror scenes that I just really, really enjoyed. And the film, I mean, considered by most as one of the best horror films out there, and I have to agree because it's just so well made. It's so well directed. You get so, connected to the characters that when they do have all these horrible things going on with them, you really feel bad for these characters. And I mean, it's just a masterpiece. I mean, what else can I say about The Exorcist that hasn't been said? I mean, it's a masterpiece, classic. If you haven't seen it, I recommend it. It has a lot of iconic scenes. It also has probably one of the most iconic deleted scenes, which is in this version, where you have Regan possessed and she's walking down the stairs, spider walk, where she's bent backwards and spider walking down the stairs. That is so iconic. I don't understand why that got cut out. You can only find it in this version, the version you've never seen, which is very similar to the original cut, but there's a couple of added deleted scenes in there, which I thought was a nice touch to the film, to this version at least, because it was done very well. This is also one of the best kind of alternate versions of the film you can get, because that spider walk scene is just so disturbing looking, and I guess they didn't do it because they thought the effect looked pretty bad. For me, the effect looked great. You couldn't get much more better than that. I thought it looked pretty good for the time, and I thought it was a pretty disturbing idea. So number 10, The Exorcist is a classic film. It's always been one of those movies where I can watch it again and again and again. And that's the thing about this movie is that when I watch The Exorcist, I don't just watch it once. I watch it at least 2 to 3 times because I just love the movie. And then we get to Exorcist 3. I usually skip 2 for good reasons. But you get to 3, it's the same thing. I mean, I love Part 3. Part 3 is one of my favorite sequels of all time. And as the same thing with Part 3, I can watch it over and over again. Part 4 is decent. I don't really watch it too much, but it's okay. But Part 1 and 3, I mean, they are probably some of my favorite movies out there. Part 3 isn't on this list because I think it's got its own problems. This movie, I can say, doesn't have a single problem with it. I think it handles the whole slow burn horror aspect very well. It's got a lot of inventive stuff in it, and I just think that it's a masterpiece for a reason. And there's not much more else I can say about The Exorcist. It's an awesome film, and if you haven't seen it, I recommend it. So yeah, number 10, The Exorcist. Gonna put these DVDs over here. Hopefully they don't fall down. They might fall down. I think I had that happen in the previous top 10 video or something. Hopefully they don't, but I can't promise anything. Number 9 is John Carpenter's The Thing. This is the Blu-ray. Beautiful Blu-ray. The only problem is that I think there's another Blu-ray of this, a Scream Factory, which I want to pick up because not only is it a Blu-ray transfer, excuse me, sorry about that. That was my alarm clock going off. It's happened in a couple other videos as well. Apologize for that. But like what I was saying, there is a second Blu-ray for this, I think, which is by Scream Factory. I think there's a Blu-ray version of this on Scream Factory. And I want to trade this one out for that one because it actually has features. This one, it does, but you have to watch the movie to see the features, which is a creative idea, but I'm not a big fan of it. That's why I have this and the DVD version. That's why I believe most collectors do, because the Blu-ray is fantastic. The picture and sound is amazing. You gotta see the thing on Blu-ray. If you only have DVD of The Thing, get the Blu-ray. It's amazing. And I want to get this Blu-ray traded in for a Scream Factory Blu-ray, but I have to find that Blu-ray somewhere. So I want to get this traded in for that one so that I can actually get features with the Blu-ray, and I can just sell this and the DVD version I have. And I can keep the Scream Factory version. But The Thing, number 9, my favorite horror films of all time, because this has always been a horror film that, whether it was during the winter, or if it was very cold out, or if it was just very, matching the atmosphere of this movie, which is very cold, very icy, very snowy. I always pop this movie in, and it's like the perfect film to watch during the winter. This and another movie on this list, which I'll get to. I don't want to spoil it, but this and another movie are some of my favorite movies to watch when there's a lot of snow, on the ground. So it's always been a movie I can go to when it's that season. And also, it's just a movie that, in general, I love to watch. It is a masterpiece in slow burn horror. There's actually a lot of slow burn horror on this list, so I guess I'm a sucker for these kind of movies. But I love slow burn horror because I think it adds an extra layer of tension to it because you're getting more time to know these characters, and it adds to the suspense and it adds to the tension to when these people do, whether they die, whether they get hurt, you actually feel impact, and that is handled very well in this film. You have Kurt Russell in this film, which is great. McCready, you have the rest of the cast, which is really awesome. John Carpenter directing it, did a fantastic job. Really awesome artwork. Love the poster. And the movie just has some of the best, if not the best, makeup effects in a horror film that I've seen. These transformation scenes in this film, granted, they're spaced apart, they take a while to get to them, but when they get to them, it's definitely worth the wait. When these people transform into these mutant creatures, it's just beautiful practical effects. It's actually, if I ever get into an argument whether CGI is better than practical or if practical is better than CGI, which I think practical is better than CGI, in some instances, I think if CGI is used well, it can be used perfectly in film. I think that Marvel and like a lot of superhero movies, they use CGI extremely well. It's just a lot of horror films that use CGI, including the prequel to this film, which I, for some reason, have over there somewhere, which I barely watched. I think I've seen that movie only 2 times. I seen it when I first got the DVD because I'd never seen it, and then I watched it just one day. I think I even turned it off about halfway through. The prequel just sucks. But, you argue between practical and CGI and horror at least. I would show people scenes from this film because it really shows you that, yeah, practical effects are the way to go. Now, that does not mean that CGI is always bad. Like I said, Marvel and DC and a couple other companies can use CGI extremely well, especially nowadays. But a lot of horror films that could use practical effects, like this one uses practical effects beautifully. But like a lot of the supernatural horror films that come out anymore, they just use bad looking CGI. It looks fake. It looks like it was $2, But this movie has amazing special effects. Amazing direction, amazing atmosphere. Just everything in this movie is amazing. And also, there's a bit of history between me and this movie because this was the first filmed review for the channel. It was on this film. Which means I got to review this again one day because I don't think I've reviewed it since then. But yeah, this was the first movie I did a review on. So it has that as well. It was the very first film that I had done a review for. Now, granted, it wasn't the first filmed review that I uploaded because it was a 30-minute review, and I could only upload videos that were 15 minutes. So I had to wait and wait and wait, and then months later I uploaded it because I could finally go past the 15-minute mark. And then it ended up coming out months later, so you guys probably seen it about halfway through the year because it took me a while to get some more subs and and views and stuff. So when I got to that point, I was able to upload the full video onto YouTube. But it was the first filmed review. This was the very first time where I sat down in front of a camera and reviewed a movie. This was the first film. And it's just a masterpiece. I mean, I really can't say much more about it. It's a masterpiece. It's a fantastic movie. It's a classic. And from what I've heard, John Carpenter wanted to make a part two to this with with um Kurt Russell as well as the other actor. I can't remember his name right now. Keith David, I think is his name. He's gonna get those two to come back, and he's gonna get, I think, a lot of the people from the cast and crew back to do the part two to this. But from what I understand, I heard from Matt, aka Remember Afterlife, in his review for the Thing. He had said that I can't remember if it was the Thing original or if it was the prequel, but I think he said that the studio denied John Carpenter a sequel, but yet they greenlit a prequel by a director who I don't even remember his name. I just don't understand that. I don't get that. John Carpenter is a horror legend, a horror master, and you're gonna deny his idea to make a sequel to this movie, and you're gonna green light. You're gonna approve a prequel that mainly has CGI in it. I get it; it had practical effects as well, but most of that movie's effects are CGI. And I just don't understand why they would deny John Carpenter a sequel. I mean, I don't know. But yeah, The Thing is a classic. I love the movie. I keep holding it up because I love that poster. But yeah, it's a beautiful transfer, crystal clear audio, crystal clear picture, and it's just a masterpiece. I mean, I really can't say anything else about it. It's a masterpiece. And also, what's interesting is that this comes with a commentary with Kurt Russell and John Carpenter. So maybe I'll check that out one day. But yeah, The Thing is number 9. Love it. And the next movie that we're getting to is number 8, and that is in this 3-pack, but it's the first film, Alien. Again, another slow burn horror film. This 3-pack comes with Alien, Aliens, and Alien 3. I have yet to talk about these movies. I don't think I've ever talked about them in any other of my videos, but to give you guys at least my thoughts on the first 3 movies, the first movie is on this list, so you already know where I stand in the first movie. It's one of my favorite horror films. Aliens is one of my favorite sequels. It's a different tone, a different take on the Alien franchise, but it's a fantastic action movie with a hint of horror in it. But it's mainly just action, but I love Aliens. Alien 3, I don't know. I honestly never sat down and watched Alien 3. I kind of just sat down and had it play in the background, and I wasn't really paying attention to it. So I can't really give a solid opinion on it, as I haven't really sat down and watched Alien 3. The only thing I can say about it is that it's not a very engaging film. But the DVD out, talking about, in this video, Alien. This movie is one of my favorite horror films because it took such a simple idea. Because you really think about it, it is a very simple idea. They go on a planet, they find these eggs, and one of them gets this parasite on his face, or the face hugger, and there's an alien on board and it's killing people. It's a very simple idea, but it's handled so well. Ridley Scott is one of my favorite directors of all time because just visually this movie is beautiful to look at, and it's a believable futuristic tone. It's not like you're going, oh, that's bull crap, but it's a beautiful futuristic tone to the movie. It has a great score, great special effects, fantastic acting, great cast. Again, it's one of those perfect horror films. It's got everything that a horror film fan could love. And I love the slow burn aspect because, like I said, you know these characters, you get these characters, you know what these characters are going through or where they're at, where they've been, and you care for these characters. And when the alien is there, the alien in this movie is creepy. It's really scary. Um, and I think before I'd seen Alien, I'd seen AVP, and that was more of an action kind of emphasis. I can't say it, but that one focused on action a little bit more. And when I seen Aliens, that one focused on a little bit more of the action aspect as well, which works really good. But seeing this movie for the first time, and then they really took the Aliens serious, like in Aliens and in AVP, they took it serious. But like I said, it wasn't like it was a horror aspect; it was an action aspect where they got guns and they're blowing them up and stuff. Here, they got flamethrowers and stuff, but they make the alien a smart creature. They make it to where it's scary, it's creepy, but it's also smart. It's intelligent. It knows how to hunt its prey, and it makes it a very imposing enemy because like there's only one alien in this film, and it wipes out this whole crew. And it comes down to Sigourney Weaver. She versus the alien and has that great scene where she, ends up fighting the alien at the end of the movie, and it's very well done. I mean, Sigourney Weaver in the movie is great. The design of the alien is fantastic. It just has everything nailed in this movie. And that's why Ridley Scott is one of my favorite directors of all time because he knows how to make a visually beautiful film. He knows how to handle characters. He knows how to handle stories and acting. And all that was nailed in this film. So yeah, Alien, number 8. Number 8 in my top 10 of my favorite horror films of all time. So number 8 is Alien. I'm going to put it back in the case real quick. Put it over here. Now we get to number 7. This is also a very fun entry. Now we're finally getting to one that's not a slow burn horror film, but it's a very fun movie that definitely deserves to be in this list. And that is number 7, The Evil Dead, the original film from 1981, I believe. 1982 actually. It says here 1982. But yeah, The Evil Dead, I've done a review for, reviewed the whole series, and I'm a huge fan of the Evil Dead series. Evil Dead 2 is one of my favorite sequels. Army of Darkness is a really fun film. Ash vs. Evil Dead Season 1 was really great. I played one of the games, A Fistful of Boomstick. I thought it was okay. But yeah, the original Evil Dead is one of my favorite horror films because, again, it takes a very simple concept, and they had very little money to make this movie, and it shows how creativity, inventive thinking, and using ingenuity and just using pure, just wantingness, I guess. None other words to come to mind. But really just showing that if you put all of your effort into making a film, that you'll get a good product. Like this is a very low budget movie, but it's so well done. Granted, the acting's not the best, but it actually adds to the film because the acting is a bit cheesy, but it's fun to listen to. It's fun to listen to the cheesy acting. It's fun to, see all the little mistakes in the movie and stuff like that. That part is just fun. But you also just have the classicness of this film. I don't know if that's a word, classicness. But it's such a classic that when you're watching it, you're just seeing a great film unfold. The special effects are very well done for the budget that they had. I loved the atmosphere in this movie. I loved it to death. Loved the kind of background fog and the background noises and the wind. Great atmosphere. Ash, very likable character, good lead. Bruce Campbell did a great job in it. Sam Raimi did a great job directing the movie. It has very good camera work to it. And I've already done a review on it, so I probably won't be saying too much in this review. But Evil Dead is a fantastic horror film. Number 7 on the list. But yeah, Evil Dead is a fantastic movie. The ultimate experience in ruling terror. that it is. So yeah, Evil Dead. Not much more to say about it. It's a classic. I love it to death. It's one of my favorite movies to watch, and I absolutely adore Evil Dead. Yeah. So number 7 is Evil Dead. Okay, guys, time to get to number 6, which is Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. Now, again, this is part of a double feature with Full Metal Jacket, which is one of my favorite films to watch. But The Shining is one of my favorite horror films that I'd actually watched recently, maybe a week ago. And, it's always been one of my go-to horror films. This is another one of those horror films that, like The Thing, I love to watch when it's winter. I love it when there's a big storm going on, winter storm. You pop in The Shining or you pop in The Thing, and it just adds so much to that because you feel what these people feel. You feel like, there's a big storm going on outside. You don't want to go outside because it's very cold. There's snow everywhere. And when you watch this movie, it really adds to that. There's something about that. It adds to somehow, some way, it just does. But The Shining, I think, for just so many reasons, this is one of my favorites. I mean, it has one of my favorite psycho performances by Jack Nicholson. It has a fantastic story. There's so much. There's so many hidden meanings behind it. There's so many hidden messages in it that when you watch it, you're just so intrigued by the film. And that's why I would say that Kubrick is my favorite director. Now, I know people are saying, like, what? What about, Steven Spielberg or John Carpenter? I love those directors. Love them a lot. But Stanley Kubrick is my favorite because he's made some of the most visually interesting movies that I have ever seen. For instance, Clockwork Orange, that I have over there. I'm reviewing that soon, whenever I can, because I absolutely love the way that movie's shot, the way it's directed. In this movie, and I haven't seen 2000 or not 2001. I was gonna say 2000. Yeah, it's 2001: Space Odyssey. What am I thinking? I was gonna say 2001 Maniacs, or whatever that movie's called, but 2001: A Space Odyssey I haven't seen yet. I know he did Jekyll and Hyde, I think, and he did a couple other movies I haven't seen yet. But did he do Jekyll and Hyde? I can't remember. But I've seen this, I've seen Clockwork Orange, and I've seen Full Metal Jacket, and these are like 3 of my favorite films of all time. And The Shining is just such a intriguing movie to watch. It's creepy but yet beautiful at the same time. It's calming but alarming. It's unnerving but relaxing at the same time. It's beautiful to look at, but then at times you want to look away because it's so gruesome. It's strange. It's a bit weird at points. Um, it's got every kind of emotion that you could feel in this film. It's the same thing that plays out in A Clockwork Orange. It's intriguing. It's beautiful. It's artistic, but then at the same time, it's dark. It's creepy. It's atmospheric. It has so much going for it, and acting in this movie is a big reason why I also love it. Jack Nicholson, of course, is fantastic. The kid who played Danny did a great job. Also, Shelley Duvall, who is the wife Jack Nicholson in this character in this movie, she did a great job as well. And I know that Stephen King is actually not a fan of this movie. That's why they made a second adaptation, which is a TV miniseries, which I haven't seen yet. But it was because, Kubrick took The Shining and did his own thing with it. He made the Jack character psychotic. He made him unnerving. He made him creepy. And I guess in the novel, the character in the novel was kind of Stephen King's sort of own write on himself, trying to write his battle with alcohol and to get sober, to put it in The Shining so he can get kind of like his own personal battle in the book. And when he's seen this movie and Kubrick just made the Jack character a complete psycho, I guess he didn't like that aspect. And there's several things in this movie that are different than the novel. There's no hedge maze. There's no hedge maze in the novel. There's actually just these these animal shaped bushes in the movie or in the novel. There's also just multiple different things in the novel. One of the characters that dies in this movie doesn't die in the novel. It's just very different in the novel, but I think that's what adds to it because it's so Kubrick. There's a lot of times you're just guessing. You're like, what's going on here? What's going on there? Is it all real? Is it really ghosts? Is it just Jack going crazy? What is it? And it's never really a solid answer for it, and that adds incredibly to the film because it makes you guess. Like, okay, was it just Jack going crazy? Was it, a delusion? Was it maybe, all a dream? Possibly. They don't actually have a part where it's like, oh, maybe it was all a dream, but you just wonder that. You're like, okay, so did this really happen? Were there ghosts or was there not ghosts? I love movies that do that. It's a very good psychological movie. It plays around with your emotions. It plays around with your expectations. And it's perfect. It's well shot. It's well acted. Has a great score. It's creepy. It's a very scary film. And if there's ever a winter storm, if you guys live anywhere where there's a winter storm, pop in The Shining and you will get creeped out because watching this in the middle of a storm, like a winter storm, when it's snowing heavily outside, just adds to the film so much. You feel like you're also trapped in that storm. You're like, oh, it's creepy. It adds to that. Same with The Thing, it adds to that too. But The Shining, number 6 on the list. It's a great film. I absolutely love it. One of my favorite horror films of all time for lots of reasons. Ultimately, just a great, great film. So yeah, number 6, The Shining. Now we get to number 5, which is John Carpenter's Halloween. Now this movie, I really don't have much to say on because Halloween is one of the most popular horror films out there. Considered by many to be one of the best horror films of all time, to some the best horror film of all time. You guys already know which one's my favorite horror film of all time, but this is definitely up there. This is just a masterpiece. Every little thing in this movie is perfect. Atmosphere, direction, lighting, score, suspense, horror, creepiness, eeriness. Everything is nailed in this film. It's very hard to do that in the movie, especially nowadays. And this Blu-ray transfer is absolutely fantastic. Trying to get this DVD out so you guys can see the artwork on the inside of the Blu-ray. But yeah, it's very, very, very cool Blu-ray. And the movie is just one of those movies where you can just watch it over and over again and never really lose interest in the film. It's a movie that's perfect for the Halloween season. You always see it play on TV. You always see, whether you're in the store, you go to the Halloween aisle, you see the movie, you see the soundtrack, you see the masks, you see the costumes. Halloween has become such a big phenomenon that it's just amazing. And it's also getting a 2018 film, which is coming out in October, which I cannot wait for. The franchise is also one of my favorites. I love part 2, I love part 3, I love 4. Now, granted, afterwards things went downhill. Like, I'm not a fan of 5 or 6 or pretty much any other ones. But the first 4 movies I love to death. And it's amazing that the franchise has, I think, 12 movies total. There's 8, 9, 10, not 12, it's 10, because you have the Resurrection, which is 8, and then 9, which is Rob Zombie's Halloween 1, and then Halloween 2 would be 10. So yeah, 10 movies total, so it's still a pretty big franchise. About to be 11 movies once Halloween 2018 comes out. But yeah, I mean, what else can I say about it? Michael Myers is iconic. This poster is great. I want to get a t-shirt of this poster. It was awesome. I also maybe want to get the poster on the background there somewhere. It's just such a great movie. I mean, I reviewed it, so if you guys want to see my really in-depth thoughts on it, I've done a review for it. It's a masterpiece. Everything in this movie is done perfectly. And it's very hard Like nowadays, you don't see a lot of movies like this. The only movies that come to mind is probably Insidious 1, The Conjuring 2, um, It Follows. I almost lost the title of that movie. Um, a couple other ones. The Witch. That's also, but that's not even a flawless movie. I actually has problems with it, but it's a really good movie. Um, there's not a lot of them I can think of. Those are really the only ones nowadays of this sort of era that we're in right now that I can really think of that are perfect like that. There's only very few of them. A lot of them are great, but they have problems. Like Unfriended, I think Unfriended is a fantastic horror film. Is it flawless? No, it has a pretty bad ending, but I think overall it's an underrated as heck horror film that's really good. But Halloween is just one of those movies that will last forever. Halloween will always be talked about. It will always be watched. And, you know, as a kid growing up, I always seen this, whether it was on DVD, whether it was on VHS, whether it was on TV. Halloween 1 has always been a big part of why I fell in love with horror. Because I used to watch Halloween 1 and 4 and 2. I don't think I've seen 3 a lot growing up, but I've seen Halloween 1, 2, and 4 a lot growing up. So the Halloween series is a big reason why I'm a fan of horror. But the first movie is a fantastic, legendary film. That if you have not seen Halloween 1, watch Halloween 1. Watch all of them. They're all interesting in their own ways. Even the bad ones like Part 6 and Part 5 and Part 7, they still have interest factors to them. So check out the franchise if you haven't seen yet. Check out this movie. This is a must-see if you haven't seen it. If you have not seen Halloween, it's a must-see. Go watch it. It's a very fast-paced film. It's perfect. It's a perfect film. If it's your favorite horror film of all time, I completely understand. I mean, it's one of my favorite ones. It's definitely up there with some other movies. So far, it's with my top 5. But yeah, great movie. Love Halloween 1. I actually want to take that off. This little right here, this little thing that keeps the case closed. I really don't have any issue with it. So yeah, now I can just open and close it. I don't know why they put those on Blu-rays. I don't understand that. But Halloween 1, it's a great movie. I really enjoy it, and it's a legendary film. So that was number 5. And number 5. Number 4, which is my favorite horror film of all time. You guys already know it's coming. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre from 1974. I won't talk too much about it because I've done umpteen videos about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But it is a fantastic set. It's a 4-disc set, the 40th anniversary edition. You get the DVD version of the film and the Blu-ray version, and you get a DVD version of the features and a Blu-ray version of the features. And I kind of want to show you guys the artwork real quick, so I'm going to pause this real quick. And just to show you guys the artwork real quick, that's the artwork on the inside of the case. This is the back of the case. There's the artwork. But yeah, I've made all kinds of videos on this movie. Done a fan commentary with Steve. I did 2 reviews on it. I've done a ranking video on the franchise. I reviewed every film in the franchise. I've done so much, and I've talked about this movie so much, and the franchise a lot too. And this DVD and I guess Blu-ray combo pack is just full of features. You get 4 commentaries. You get freaking look at that unlimited list of like features on disc 2. And the movie is my favorite film of all time because I think it has the perfect atmosphere, the perfect look, perfect direction, and it's so well made. It's such a well made film that it's my favorite movie. It's my favorite movie to watch. It's my favorite horror film to just pop in on a random day. And it's just my favorite movie because I really like the character Leatherface. I like the characters in the film. Direction is fantastic. It has kind of a beautifully disturbing look to it. That's how I think of it. It's a beautifully disturbing look to it. The design, the set design, the lighting, the creepiness to it. It's wonderfully disturbing. That's just how I always describe Texas Massacre, the original. That it's wonderfully disturbing, but it's a really good movie. I won't talk about it too much because I've talked about it like a lot. But yeah, my favorite horror film of all time, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre from 1974. So yeah, that was number 4. Number 3 is George A. Romero's Dawn of the Dead. Now, out of the trilogy, this is my favorite one, but I absolutely love all 3 movies. Night of the Living Dead is one of my favorite horror films as well. So is Day of the Dead. That's one of my most favorite and underrated horror films out there. But if I had to narrow it down between all 3 movies, it's very hard to do that because they're all great. I have to say my favorite is Dawn of the Dead. It's just a fun movie to watch. It goes by at a fast pace. It's a masterpiece. It's probably my favorite zombie movie of all time, as well as one of my favorite horror films just to watch in general. It's just such a beautifully done film, and George Romero did a great job directing it. George Romero, rest in peace, a fantastic director. Big fan of George Romero, and this movie, the direction was just fantastic. It has great camera work, has good acting. You got Ken Foray, Galen Ross, Scott H. Reiner, and David Emig. You also have music by the Goblins and also Dario Argento. I know that Argento kind of did his own cut of the film. There's like 4 versions of this movie, which I haven't seen the other 3 versions. This is just the regular version, the U.S. version. They said it on here. You have the U.S. theatrical cut, but there's like 3 other versions of the film, which I haven't seen yet. But yeah, Dawn of the Dead, it's got great gore. It's fun to watch. It's always been one of my favorite movies to watch. So number 3, Dawn of the Dead. Number 2 is David Cronenberg's The Fly. And I was kind of just wondering because I came down to the last 2 spots in the list and I was like, man, I'm not really sure to put in this list because I'm a big fan of this movie, big fan of that movie. And I was digging through the movies and I was like, this is a movie that I love. This should be on the list because The Fly is a fantastic film. Cronenberg is a great director. He brings such a great atmosphere to this. Also, the acting is a big plus for this film, I mean, you got Geena Davis, you got Jeff Goldblum. Just one of my favorite movies to watch again, and just a very slow burn movie. But you really feel bad about, what's going on with Jeff Goldblum's character. And I'm a big fan of David Cronenberg. I mean, I've seen Scanners, love Scanners. I seen this for the first time a couple of years ago. I thought it was a fantastic movie. I really want to see Videodrome. I really want to see The Brood. There's still a lot of movies from David Cronenberg I haven't seen, but for the ones I have seen, they're really good. And I'm just a really big fan of David Cronenberg's style. I love how he kind of focuses on the body, the human body, the anatomy of the human being. It kind of uses that as the horror because it really makes it a very creepy kind of, concept, and I really enjoy that. But yeah, this is a 2-disc set. It's an awesome 2-disc. Disc 1, Disc 2. I like how they did that, have like 2 flies on Disc 2 and 1 fly on Disc 1. I like that. I like the simplicity of the cover as well. Just the fly. I love how simplistic it is. But it's a very well-made slow burner. It has really great makeup effects, has really great acting, has good characters, and it's number 2. Number 2 on my list of favorite horror films of all time. David Cronenberg's The Fly. And now we get to number 1, which I think for most people will be interesting because technically Part 3 is my favorite movie of the series, but Part 1 has to be on this list. And that is Friday the 13th, Part 1. Now, Part 3 is my favorite out of the series. I think even more better than Part 1. But Part 1 is one of my favorite horror films of all time. I think it's a very important film because we would not have a 12-movie franchise without it starting off with the first movie. And Friday the 13th has always been one of my favorite movies to watch. The original one. It's just, I think what the strongest point about the original movie is it has a beautiful atmosphere that has only been topped by very few movies out there. Because it's a very natural atmosphere. It's a very, even part two and part three had those great atmospheres, and part four and part five did as well. But something about part one's atmosphere just felt like it was a real summer, a real camp, the real outdoors, and it just had that feel. Also, direction was very well done. Good makeup effects, and it's just a classic movie. But yeah, number one, Friday the 13th, because it's always been one of my favorite slasher films to watch. It has probably the best atmosphere out of all slasher films for me. It has really great characters. Adrian King is my favorite was my favorite lead from the series. Um, it's just, for me, part three is my favorite, but part one deserved to be on this list because part one I consider to be one of my favorite horror films of all time. It's just, it started the slasher wave. Historically, it did so much. It made more money than The Shining. It was a big rival for The Empire Strikes Back, which is a big deal because it's just a horror film. And Star Wars back then it was about as dangerous as it is now, because now it makes a lot of money now, and it did back then as well. So for a horror film like Friday the 13th to kind of rival Empire Strikes Back, which is amazing, and it's just such a great movie to watch. I think it's beautifully shot, wonderfully acted, and just one of my favorite horror films. But anyways, guys, I'm a little bit worn out. I've been talking for 45 minutes. I'm a little bit worn out now. But I'm gonna go ahead and upload this video. Hope you guys with the list, and I'll see you guys later. The Explorer 4 out. Those are my top 10 favorite horror films of all time. Hope you guys enjoyed. The Explorer 4 out.